Hello everyone. So today we'll be covering the second part of the topic gingiva, and that is microscopic examination or microscopic features of gingiva, right? So to put it in a brief, historically it was considered that gingiva provides only a physical barrier, okay? But later on studies revealed that gingiva has an wide array of functions, like many more functions are there apart from the physical barrier. For example, it provides the innate host defense to infections, okay? It also helps in combining the innate host defense or acquired host defense, okay? Production of keratinocytes and various other cells, right? Replacement of damaged cells and production of GCF, gingival crevicular fluid. So there are so many functions that gingival epithelium, to be precise, gingival epithelium performs so many functions, not only performs the function of physical barrier. So in order to understand it in a better way, we need to first understand the basic microscopic level structure of the gingiva, okay? So coming to the microscopic level structure of the gingiva, the first line what you will write this: microscopic examination of gingiva reveals that it is composed of overlying stratified squamous epithelium and underlying central connective tissue, okay? So gingiva microscopic feature will be studied under two headings: gingival epithelium and gingival connective tissue. If you can see this line, it is clearly written, it is composed of overlying stratified squamous epithelium. So overlying epithelium and underlying central connective tissue, okay? So we will study this entire topic under these two headings, right? So आप लोगों को फर्स्ट ईयर का अगर याद होगा, if you remember this, what is this stratified squamous epithelium? So फर्स्ट ईयर नहीं, 8th 9th 11th के बायो में भी आप लोग पढ़े होंगे. एपिथेलियम जो होती है, एपिथेलियम के टाइप्स होती है. इफ यू रिमेंबर और नॉट, आई डोंट नो. सो स्क्वैमस एपिथेलियम मतलब होता है the epithelium whose surface layer is composed of flat cells, okay? Flattened cells. This is something called as squamous epithelium, okay? This is something called as squamous epithelium, means composed of squamous cells, okay? Now what is this stratified squamous epithelium? What does this stratified meaning? When the squamous epithelium is of two types, one is simple squamous epithelium and another is stratified. Stratified meaning is formation of strata, or stratum means formation of layers. So this is a simple squamous epithelium, means only one layer is there. But if it is like this, one layer, another layer, okay, then another layer, this is something called as stratified squamous epithelium, okay? This is stratified squamous epithelium. So as of now, what we know, microscopic examination reveals gingiva is composed of overlying stratified squamous epithelium. After that there is a basement membrane, and then there is the central connective tissue, okay? So we will now make a simplified flow chart of how we will study this, right? Gingival epithelium consists of layers of the gingival epithelium, the cells of the gingival epithelium, and the gingival fluid or the gingival crevicular fluid, okay? So coming to the layers of gingival epithelium, they are divided into three subtypes: oral or outer epithelium, sulcular epithelium, and junctional epithelium, okay? Excuse me. Cells of gingival epithelium are divided into two types. One is keratinocytes and the other is non-keratinocytes. Amongst them, keratinocytes are the predominant cells or the majority. or the majority covering cells. Okay, amongst the non-keratinocytes there are melanocytes, Merkel cells, and the Langerhans cells, right? So this is the broad overview of the gingival epithelium. Now we will study each of them in detail. Okay. Outer epithelium covers the crest. Crest means the peak. This portion, the peak. Okay. The topmost portion, Mount Everest ka peak. Okay. Covers the crest and the outer surface of marginal gingiva. Outer epithelium can be keratinized or parakeratinized, right? And the degree of gingival keratinization diminishes with age and onset of menopause. Okay, degree of gingival keratinization decreases with age and onset of menopause. Okay, now we will come to this term, what is parakeratinized first of all, and before coming to this term we will just quickly recap the layers of the epithelium. Okay, so I was talking about keratinization, right? So this term keratinization is nothing but the process of deposition of keratin in the superficial layers of various epidermal layers, right? Like hair, skin, this feeling, this is nails, right? Hair, nails, sorry, not hair, nails. This is keratinization, deposition of keratin. Okay, so here also this term is coming. We studied what? Oral epithelium may be keratinized or parakeratinized. Okay, so keratinization means deposition of keratin in the uppermost layer, right? Now coming to the layers. See, this is the thickness of the epithelium. I am drawing this thickness over here. Imagine this thickness is drawn over here. Okay, this is the epithelium, this is the thickness. Okay, this is the thickness. This is the inside towards the connective tissue, this is the outside towards the surface, right? So there are, if you remember, you have studied it in first year DADH. Okay, there are 4 layers. It is divided into, the entire epithelium is divided into 4 layers: stratum basal, stratum spinosum, stratum granulosum, and stratum corneum. These 4 layers have different types of cells. For example, stratum basal has columnar or cuboidal cells. After that there are elliptical or round shaped cells. Then there are granular part, and the uppermost part is the squamous, flattened squamous cell, which we drew earlier, right? So what happens if the epithelium is keratinized, okay, then these 4 layers are visible. Okay, if the epithelium is non-keratinized, then these 2 layers are not present. Okay, if the epithelium is non-keratinized, then these 2 layers are not present, right? So non-keratinized and keratinized के बीच में डिफरेंस समझ में आ गया. Non-keratinized में ये दोनों रहेंगे, keratinized में ये चारों रहेंगे. Okay, now coming to ऑर्थोकेराटिनाइज्ड एंड पैराकेराटिनाइज्ड, ये दोनों टर्म्स है, ऑर्थोकेराटिनाइज्ड और पैराकेराटिनाइज्ड. ये क्या होता है? अब क्या होता है पैराकेराटिनाइज्ड में, क्या हो जाएगा कि ये जो ऊपर का लेयर है ना, स्ट्रैटम कॉर्नियम, जहां पर केराटिनाइजेशन होता है, केराटिनाइजेशन लुक्स लाइक दिस, डिपोजिशन ऑफ केराटिन हियर, दिस इज द केराटिन. ओके, इन द स्ट्रैटम कॉर्नियम लेयर, डिपोजिशन ऑफ केराटिन, राइट? सो ऑर्थोकेराटिनाइजेशन एंड पैराकेराटिनाइजेशन में डिफरेंस ये हो जाता है, मेजर डिफरेंस ये हो जाता है अभी के लिए. सो ऑर्थोकेराटिनाइजेशन में केराटिन डिपॉजिट्स रहते हैं, केराटिन डिपॉजिट इज प्रेजेंट, बट दिस सेल्स, दिस टॉपमोस्ट लेयर सेल्स retain the pycnotic nuclei. Okay, pycnotic nuclei is retained. Okay, pycnotic means the nuclei is shrunken, छोटा हो गया, सिकुड़ गया, like किशमिश. Okay, raisins. Okay, so pycnotic means shrunken. Okay, so sorry, this is not orthokeratinized, this is parakeratinized. In parakeratinized, pycnotic nuclei is retained, though there is keratin formation, but still the nuclei is retained in a shrunken form. but in orthokeratinized there is no nucleus retention. There is no nucleus retention. Okay, so this is orthokeratinized. This is the main difference. So what we were, why we went into this part is that oral epithelium or the outer epithelium is keratinized or parakeratinized. That means it consists of all these 4 layers. You will write this point that oral epithelium consists of all 4 layers: stratum basal, stratum spinosum, that is prickle cell layer, stratum granulosum, and the stratum corneum. Okay. So sulcular epithelium, as the name suggests, it lines the gingival sulcus. Okay, you should correlate with the diagram given this side. It lines the gingival sulcus. So which is the sulcular epithelium? This green one is the sulcular epithelium and it is lining this gingival sulcus. Okay, first point. Second is very important, it is thin. Compared to the oral epithelium, it is thinner. You can see. So it is thin, non-keratinized, stratified squamous epithelium. So epithelium, gingival epithelium is altogether stratified squamous epithelium, but oral epithelium was keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. But contrary to that, sulcular epithelium, as I mentioned earlier, it is non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. So guys, since it is non-keratinized, so what we can expect, the top 2 layers will be absent. So that will be the another point. Stratum granulosum and stratum corneum is absent, or this layer is devoid of stratum granulosum and stratum corneum. Without retepex. Now what is this retepex? The last diagram which I drew, I made this like this epithelium. This was the epithelium. You can go back in the video. This was the epithelium. I made some scalloping like this. These were the retepex or rete So this is sorry here it is. So oral epithelium, this is the retepex or rete You can see this is the retepeg formation or rete this scalloping or wave formation. Okay, but you can see in sulcular epithelium it is not there. So it is mentioned here without retepegs. Okay, next is the extent. It extends from the coronal limit of junctional epithelium to the crest of the gingival margin. Again, you see the diagram. This is the sulcular epithelium. It extends from the coronal limit of junctional epithelium. Means this is the junctional epithelium. This red one, topmost portion of junctional epithelium, which is the coronal portion of the junctional epithelium. So sulcular epithelium extends from the coronal portion of the junctional epithelium and extends up to the crest of the gingival margin, means peak of the gingival margin. Okay, next point, it is already done. Stratum granulosum and stratum corneum absent. Next is this sulcular epithelium layer is very important because it acts as a semi-permeable membrane. You remember semi-permeable membrane? I think you have studied it in class 9 or 8 osmosis topic. Semi-permeable membrane means it is permeable to some and it is not permeable to others, right? Means एक पर्दा है, this is a parda kind of cloth which allows, parchment membrane is an example of semi-permeable membrane. So it allows the passage of some particles while restricting the passage of some other particles. So sulcular epithelium in the same way, it acts as a semi-permeable membrane, and what it does, it allows the passage of infectious bacterial product into the gingiva, and tissue fluid from the gingiva seeps into the sulcus. So what happens here? Infectious bacterial products, suppose these are the infectious bacterial products, they seep into the gingiva, okay, and tissue fluid from the gingiva seeps into the sulcus. It maintains the balance, right? So it is very important. So reports or studies have suggested that this sulcular epithelium is, first of all, the sulcular epithelium is non-keratinized, but sulcular epithelium can gain some keratinization power or ability of keratinization if it meets 2 conditions. If it is exposed to this oral cavity, अगर sulcular epithelium इस जगह पे आ जाए, oral cavity से expose हो जाए, outer epithelium की जगह पे आ जाए, if sulcular epithelium is exposed to the oral cavity, then it will gain the power of keratinization, or this sulcus area is all the bacterial irritants present in this sulcus are eliminated. मतलब यहाँ पर जितने बैक्टीरियल इरिटेंट्स है अगर वो भी एलिमिनेट हो जाए, या फिर ये सर्कुलर एपिथेलियम ओरल कैविटी में एक्सपोज हो जाए जो कि अभी नहीं है, या फिर जिंजाइवल सल्कस जो इसके साथ कांटेक्ट में है, वहां पर सारे बैक्टीरियल इरिटेंट्स खत्म हो जाए, तब क्या होगा, सर्कुलर एपिथेलियम जो है केराटिनाइजेशन शो करने लगेगा. ओके, कन्वर्सली oral epithelium or the outer epithelium will lose its keratinization power if it gets in contact with the tooth surface. सिंपल बात, अगर ये यहाँ आएगा तो ये अपना, अगर ये यहाँ आएगा तो ये अपना केराटिनाइजेशन पावर लूज कर देगा, और सिमिलरली ये अगर यहाँ चला जाएगा, ओरल कैविटी में एक्सपोज हो जाएगा सर्कुलर एपिथेलियम, तो इट विल गेन केराटिनाइजेशन पावर. ओके, और इसमें एक एडिशनल क्राइटेरिया ये है कि अगर सल्कस का भी जितना बैक्टीरियल इरिटेंट्स है ये सारे एलिमिनेट हो जाते हैं तो भी इसमें फिर केराटिनाइजेशन शो होने लगेगा. इससे ये पता चलता है कि presence of bacterial irritants in the sulcus is important. What? Presence of bacterial irritants in the sulcus is important to prevent circular keratinization. समझ में आया क्या बोला मैंने? मैंने बोला कि यहाँ पर जितने बैक्टीरियल इरिटेंट्स है अगर ये एलिमिनेट कर दिया जाए, then what will happen? This circular epithelium will show keratinization, right? अगर यहाँ से बैक्टीरियल इरिटेंट्स हट गए सल्कस से तो सर्कुलर एपिथेलियम केराटिनाइजेशन दिखाने लगेगा. तो इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि सर्कुलर एपिथेलियम को केराटिनाइजेशन ना दिखाए, so that the circular epithelium does not show keratinization, we need all the bacterial irritants in the sulcus. Means bacterial irritants in the sulcus should not be eliminated in order to prevent circular keratinization. Okay, I hope this point is clear. See, अभी the time is 1:35 AM, मतलब रात के 1:30 बजे I am recording this lecture and I have put innumerous efforts in writing these notes from Carranza, in making this diagram, ये video record करना and editing. So it will be very grateful if you people are getting benefited from these lectures. Please drop a comment. Please share the lecture with your friends and please subscribe the channel and ask your friends to subscribe the channel. That will help me a lot. Okay? Okay, coming back to the topic of circular epithelium is done. Now we will talk about the junctional epithelium. Okay? So junctional epithelium, as you can see, it consists of a collar-like band of non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Okay? Non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. So if we recall all the three types of epithelium that we have studied earlier, the oral epithelium was keratinized, the circular epithelium was non-keratinized, and this junctional epithelium is also non-keratinized. Okay? Next point is, it is 3 to 4 layers thick in early life, but as the age advances, it increases. See? It increases with age up to 10 to 20 layers. This is with, okay? Increases with age up to 10 to 20 layers. Okay? Next point is, consists of 2 strata. Means the junctional epithelium itself has 2 sublayers. The 2 sublayers are named as external basal lamina and internal basal lamina. Now, if you see this diagram, this portion of junctional epithelium has been enlarged. Okay, so this one is the junctional epithelium. Okay, the green and red portion is the junctional epithelium. This is the cementum. Okay, this is the CEJ, right? This is the enamel. This is the circular epithelium, and this white portion is the connective tissue. Okay, this portion is the connective tissue, right? So as discussed earlier, junctional epithelium has 2 sublayers. This one is the external basal lamina, right? And which is facing the connective tissue. If we see here, the outward portion of the junctional epithelium is the external basal lamina, which faces the gingival connective tissue. And the inward is the internal basal lamina. Now it is clear why it is external, while it is internal. External basal lamina is towards the outside. This is the tooth, this is the outside, towards the outside. This is the external basal lamina which faces the gingival connective tissue, and on the inside is the internal basal lamina. Internal basal lamina faces the enamel or the tooth surface. Now it is clear. Now if we enlarge this internal basal lamina here, this is the enlarged version of internal basal lamina. Internal basal lamina has two sublayers. One is lamina lucida and the other is lamina densa. Okay, you can see this is lamina lucida, this is lamina densa. Lamina lucida is this side, okay. Lamina densa is adjacent to the enamel, okay. Lamina densa is adjacent to the enamel. This is on the inside, okay. Now what is this? These are called as hemidesmosomes, okay. These are something, if we understand in a simple language, these are multi-protein complexes, a cell organelle, okay. These are a cell organelle, multi-protein complexes, from which there are this finger-like filaments called as tonofilaments. So hemidesmosomes are multi-protein complexes present in the lamina lucida, from where tonofilaments spread out. And what is the function of this hemidesmosome along with the tonofilaments? They help in cell to cell adherence, means they help in attaching to the adjacent cells. Attachment provide करता है, okay. This is in basic. So अगर पूरा को फिर से एक बार देखते हैं तो जंक्शनल एपिथेलियम दो लेयर्स में रहती है. बाहर वाला लेयर जो कनेक्टिव टिश्यू को फेस करता है उसको एक्सटर्नल बेसल लैमिना बोलता है. दूसरा जो लेयर अंदर रहता है which faces the enamel of the tooth surface उसको बोलते हैं internal basal lamina. Internal basal lamina in turn is divided into two sub layers. जो अंदर वाली लेयर है facing the enamel is called the lamina densa and जो बाहर साइड है उसको बोलते हैं lamina lucida. ओके, और इसमें एक स्ट्रक्चर होती है हेमीडेस्मोसोम्स और हेमीडेस्मोसोम्स along with the टोनोफिलामेंट्स. टोनोफिलामेंट्स जो होते हैं फिलामेंट लाइक स्ट्रक्चर्स है जो हेमीडेस्मोसोम से अराइज करती है और इसका काम है सेल टू सेल एडहेयर करना. ठीक है, नाउ दिस फिनिशेस दिस पोर्शन. कमिंग टू नेक्स्ट पार्ट. सो जंक्शनल एपिथेलियम इज फॉर्म्ड बाय द कॉन्फ्लुएंस, और कॉन्फ्लुएंस मींस साथ में मिलके. सो कॉन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ ओरल एपिथेलियम एंड REE. REE stands for reduced enamel epithelium. Okay, this you have studied in first year. Reduced enamel epithelium. Okay, junctional epithelium is formed by the confluence of oral epithelium and reduced enamel epithelium during tooth eruption. Okay, next point is length of the junctional epithelium. So length of the junctional epithelium is 0.25 to 1.35 mm. It has been asked previously in MDS also. Length of junctional epithelium. Okay, you need to remember this value. Next point is the attachment of the junctional epithelium to the tooth is reinforced, means re-strengthened by gingival fibers. Okay, so attachment of the junctional epithelium to the tooth surface is reinforced by the gingival fibers. Okay, what is gingival fibers? We will come to it in a later part. Okay, which brace the marginal gingiva against the tooth surface. For this reason, because junctional epithelium and gingival fibers together re-strengthen the bond, for this reason junctional epithelium and gingival fibers are together considered as a functional unit. Okay, these two are together considered as one unit, like two best friends who are always disturbing in class. These two best friends are always considered as a together a functional unit. Okay, so junctional epithelium and gingival fibers are together considered as a functional unit, and which is known as the dentogingival unit. Okay, dentogingival unit. So coming to the cell types, There are two types of cells as discussed earlier. One was the keratinocytes and the other section was non-keratinocytes. Okay. So keratinocytes, they are the principal cell type in the gingival epithelium. Okay. And what it does, it undergoes proliferation and differentiation. अब थोड़ा भारी वर्ड्स है प्रोलिफरेशन और डिफरेंशिएशन. तो क्या होता है, प्रोलिफरेशन इज नथिंग बट मल्टीप्लीकेशन, मतलब सेल डिवीजन. जो बचपन में हम लोग पढ़े हैं, प्रोलिफिकेशन इज नथिंग बट मल्टीप्लीकेशन इन नंबर दैट ऑकर्स बाय सेल डिवीजन. डिफरेंशिएशन मीन्स डिफरेंशिएट होना, मीन्स स्पेशल एबिलिटीज ऐड होना. प्रोलिफरेशन मतलब पहले मल्टीप्लाई हो गया. फॉर एग्जाम्पल ए चाइल्ड, पहले बर्थ हुआ चाइल्ड का, फिर उसके बाद एज ही ग्रोज इन एज he learns new capabilities, learning like writing, reading, eating. तो ये हो गया उसको differentiate होना. ओके, तो keratinocytes are the principal cell type which undergoes proliferation, मतलब पहले multiply होते हैं, and then differentiation, मतलब special abilities add करते हैं. ओके, next point is, as said earlier, proliferation occurs by cell division, मतलब mitosis. Proliferation occurs by mitosis. Mitosis तो पता होगा. Proliferation occurs by mitosis and it occurs in the basal layer. मतलब अभी 4 layers we drew earlier, like stratum basal, stratum corneum, stratum granulosum, stratum spinosum. तो सबसे lower layer जो था basal layer, वहां पर होती है proliferation. Proliferation occurs in the basal layer and less frequently in the suprabasal layers. मतलब basal layer के ऊपर के जो layers है, for example these are the layers, this is basal layer, so proliferation occurs in the basal layer and less frequently in the suprabasal layers. Okay, and what happens here, a small proportion of the cells remain as a proliferative component and majority begin to migrate to the surface. इसको थोड़ा सा समझते हैं. Okay, so suppose these are the 4 layers that we have studied. This is the basal layer. Okay, now what happens, suppose there are 2 cells here. Okay, there are 2 cells here. These 2 will undergo mitosis and it will form, each cell will form 2 identical daughter cells. So there are total 4 cells. Now what this line is saying, that proliferation occurs by mitosis in the basal layer and less frequently in the suprabasal layer. It is clear here. Next part, what it is saying, in which a small proportion of cells remain as a proliferative component and majority begin to migrate to the surface. This means, now out of these 4 cells, what will happen? 3 cells, majority of the cells will migrate towards the surface. Okay, 1, 2, 3. But only 1 cell will remain as a proliferative component, means it will again undergo proliferation. And these 3 cells will move towards differentiation. Okay, it's like there are 4 children of a person. 1 children is kept at home to produce more children, while the other 3 children pursue IIT, IIM and MBBS. Okay, now it is understood. Okay, now coming to the next point. What the next point is saying? Differentiation. Differentiation involves the process of keratinization, means differentiation means getting special ability. Now what is the special ability that these 3 cells will be getting? Keratinization property. Okay, formation of keratin. So differentiation involves the process of keratinization, which involves a series of biochemical and morphological events. The events we will discuss next, which involves a series of biochemical and morphological events that occur in the cell as it migrates from the basal layer. See this diagram? These 3 cells migrated from the basal layers. They are undergoing differentiation. What is happening in differentiation? A series of biochemical and morphological changes that are happening in these cells as they migrate from the basal layer to the suprabasal layers. Right? So, during differentiation, there were some morphological and biochemical events. So, the main morphological changes that occur are progressive flattening of cell with increase in tonofilaments. Tonofilaments you remember from the last diagram. So, the cells become progressively more and more flattened and increase in the number of tonofilaments. Second is the increased production of keratohyalin granules. Okay, and the third is progressive disappearance of the nucleus. right? So after complete keratinization, what happens? It leads to the production of an orthokeratinized superficial horny layer. Okay, orthokeratinized superficial horny layer with no nuclei in the stratum corneum. In the topmost layer, there will be no nuclei and well-defined stratum granulosum. Okay, so keratinocytes produce various types of cytokeratins or keratins. They are named as like K1, K2, K10, K14, K19. These are various keratin proteins that are produced. Now what you have to remember is there are some proteins that are produced during the maturation process that are unrelated to keratins. Okay, the most prominent or predominant names that you need to remember are, one is keratolinin and the other is involucrin and the other is filaggrin. Okay, these are the proteins that are produced during the maturation process, but they are not related to keratin. So the proteins named are keratolinin, involucrin and filaggrin. Okay, these are the non-keratin proteins that are also produced. Now the function of these are, this produces the most differentiated epithelium cell. Most differentiated means most specialized epithelial cells. Most differentiated epithelial cell whose name is corneocyte. Okay, so if the question comes, corneocyte is produced by which protein is related to the production of corneocytes? Filaggrin. Okay, and these two produces a chemically resistant structure or layer present below the cell membrane. Below the cell membrane, and it's named as envelope. Okay, so coming to the first non-keratinocyte, that is the melanocytes. So melanocytes are dendritic cells that are found in the basal and the spinous layers of the gingival epithelium. Okay, so they are the dendritic cells. What do you mean by dendritic cells? The cells kind of resemble this. See, this is something called as dendritic cell, right? So dendritic cells located in the basal and spinous layers of the gingival epithelium, and what they do, they synthesize melanin in organelles called as melanosomes or the pre-melanosomes. Now how they synthesize melanin? Now I hope आप लोगों को समझ में आ रही होगी. कुछ नहीं आ रही है इनके समझ में तो प्लीज आस्क इन द कमेंट सेक्शन, और यू कैन आस्क मी इन द इंस्टाग्राम ऑल्सो, राइट? So these organelles, pre-melanosomes or melanosomes, contain this enzyme called as tyrosinase, right? Tyrosinase converts tyrosine into dopa, not that hostel days dopa, dihydroxyphenylalanine, right? So which in turn gets converted to melanin. Okay, so this is the flowchart of the production of melanin. Tyrosine gets converted into dopa, and then dopa gets converted into melanin, right? So next is the Merkel cells, right? So Merkel cells are located in the deeper layers of epithelium. They harbor nerve endings and act as tactile perceptors. Okay, they act as tactile perceptors or touch perceptors. Langerhans cells are also dendritic cells. Okay, they are located amongst the keratinocytes at all suprabasal level. Okay, above the basal layer, stratum basal. Above the stratum basal, all the three layers are there. Dendritic cells are located there. Okay, they are modified monocytes which are derived from the bone marrow. Okay, third point is they play a very important role as antigen presenting cells for lymphocytes. Now there is this term called as antigen presenting cells, APC. Antigen presenting cells are nothing. These cells, what they do, they process the antigen. Okay, whatever antigen is coming, they process the antigen and then they break them into peptides, okay, and they mediate their transfer to the receptor sites, where receptor sites in the lymphocytes or T cells, okay, T cells में जो receptor होंगे वहां तक ये antigens को ले जाते हैं, right? They process the antigen, break them into the peptides and then they carry them to the T cell receptors जहां पर antigen antibody reaction होगी, okay? So they play an important role in the immune reaction as antigen presenting cells for lymphocytes, okay? So next point is that they are present in normal amount in the oral or outer epithelium, they are present in reduced amount in the circular epithelium and probably absent in the junctional epithelium. This finishes all the cells of the gingival epithelium. GCF will not describe in detail over here. We'll just mention 2 points in this long essay, that will be enough. GCF may be considered as a transudate or an exudate. What is transudate and what is exudate you have studied in pathology second year. I will not describe it now. In a healthy sulcus, the amount of GCF is very small, but during inflammation, the GCF flow increases. Okay, in a healthy sulcus, amount of GCF is very small, but during inflammation, the gingival fluid flow increases, and its composition resembles that of an inflammatory exudate. Okay, writing these 2 points is more than sufficient over here. Okay, next we will move to the gingival connective tissue. First point will be connective tissue of gingiva is called lamina propria. Next point will be connective tissue is divided into 2 layers. One is the papillary layer. It will be the second point. I am not writing it here, I am just telling it, you write it down. First is the papillary layer and the second is the reticular layer. Okay. So the introduction of connective tissue part will start with, first point will be the connective tissue of gingiva is known as lamina propria. The second point will be it is divided into 2 layers. One is the papillary layer, second is the reticular layer. So papillary layer you will write here, you will make a dash and you will write it. Papillary layer is subjacent to the epithelium. See this dotted portion? This is the papillary layer, okay? Papillary layer is adjacent to the epithelium, okay? Second is the reticular layer, which is attached to the alveolar bone. This green one, green meshwork, this one is the reticular layer, okay? I'm marking it also. This is the reticular layer. This is the papillary layer, okay? You will make this diagram in the exam, okay? So, lamina propria is the name of the connective tissue. It is divided into 2 layers, papillary layer, reticular layer. Now coming to the brief of this entire connective tissue, how you will study it. So if you can see, connective tissue is studied under 2 headings. One is the cellular elements and then there is the extracellular elements. Okay. So under cellular elements, what are the cellular elements that are present in this connective tissue? Okay. In this connective tissue, the cellular elements that are present are fibroblast, macrophages, mast cells, histiocytes, adipose cells and eosinophils. These 6 types of cells are present in the connective tissue, right? Now coming to the extracellular elements. Extracellular elements are divided into 2 parts. One is the fibers of the gingival connective tissue and then the ground substance. Fibers are of 3 types: reticular fibers, collagen fibers, elastic fibers. Under collagen fibers, which are the types of fibers? Type 1 and type 4. Elastic fibers are of 3 types: oxytalin, elastin and elionine. Remember these names? Elastic fibers are of 3 types: oxytalin, elastin and elionine. Okay, this would have been here, but due to lack of space I have written it here. Oxytalin, elastin and elionine. Okay, coming to the ground substance. Ground substance, you can see there are 2 types of ground substance. One type is the glycoproteins and the other is the proteoglycans. Under glycoprotein you will write fibronectin. Under proteoglycans you will write hyaluronic acid and chondroitin sulfate. Okay. Now the major components of the gingival connective tissue, if we divide it percentage wise according to Carranza, it is collagen fibers and the fibroblast and the matrix. So collagen fibers are 60% by volume, fibroblasts are the 5% by volume, and then the rest is the matrix with the other elements in trace amounts, right? So these are the percentage: collagen fibers, fibroblast and matrix. Now if the question comes, which is the most preponderant or predominant cellular element in gingival connective tissue, मतलब हिंदी में बोले तो gingival connective tissue का सबसे ज्यादा पाया जाने वाली cellular element कौन सी है, then you will answer this as fibroblast. Okay, इसी तरीके से याद करो कि जिंजाइवल एपिथेलियम में, तो जिंजाइवल एपिथेलियम में मोस्ट प्रोमिनेंट सेल्स कौन से थे, केराटिनोसाइट्स. ओके, सो केराटिनोसाइट्स आर द मोस्ट प्रोमिनेंट और प्रिडोमिनेंट सेल्स इन epithelium. In epithelium, keratinocytes. In connective tissue, fibroblast. Fibroblast occupy only 5% of the total connective tissue volume. Okay, and most predominant thing over here are the fibers, the collagen fibers. Okay, the gingival fibers over here. Okay, 60% by volume. Okay, now these collagen fibers, we'll call it gingival fibers from now because these are the parts of gingiva only. So gingival fibers are divided into three major groups. Okay, first is the gingivodental group, then is the circular group, and then the transseptal group. So you will remember these names. One is the gingivodental or most predominantly it is called as dentogingival. Okay, dentogingival. Then there is the circular, right? And then there is the transseptal. Okay, we will write 1 to 2 lines about each of them and we will make a diagrammatic representation of these three types of gingival fibers, and which will conclude this topic. Okay, now coming to the diagrams. Now if you see these two diagrams you will draw in the exams, right? The first one is for dentogingival and circular. The second one is for transseptal. Now let's understand. What you will write also, that is also written on the board. For gingivodental, what you will write? Gingivodental fibers are those on the facial, lingual and interproximal surfaces. Okay? First point. This is the first point. Are those on the facial, lingual and interproximal surfaces. Next point is, on the facial and lingual surfaces, they project from the cementum in a fan-like conformation. Towards the crest and outer surface of marginal gingiva. Now let's simplify this. So if you see, this is the teeth. Okay, this 1, 2, 3. These number 1, number 2 and number 3 are the gingivodental or dentogingival fibers. Okay, in the diagram you will mark this 1, 2, 3 are the dentogingival fibers. Okay, now what it is saying is that on the facial, they are present in the facial, lingual and interproximal surface, first of all. Second point, what it is saying is that on the facial and lingual surface they project in a fan-like conformation. Now how it will look, suppose if we observe a teeth occlusally, for example. So for example, this is an occlusal view of a teeth. Okay, suppose this is a premolar. Okay, now what it will appear, what does the second point means is, if this is an occlusal view of the teeth, the gingivodental fibers will look like on the facial and lingual surface they project in a fan-like conformation. So what will be the fan-like conformation? On the facial and lingual surfaces, this is what a gingivodental fiber look like, right? Okay, next is the circular fibers. Coming to the circular fibers course through the connective tissue of marginal and interdental gingiva and encircle the tooth in a ring-like fashion. Okay, in a ring-like fashion. So if you see these dotted circles, if you have studied in physics, like outward the plane that is round and inside the plane that is cross, you have studied, I think. So these are, mark it number 4. Okay, these are the circular fibers in the diagram. Now we cannot visualize it here, like this is the teeth, these circular fibers will be like this, moving inside, coming out, it is rotating like this, going backward and then coming out. Okay, so if we visit it If we see it in an occlusion plane, what it will appear like? This is the tooth, for example. Circular fibers encircle the tooth in a collar-like fashion. So how will be the circular fibers? It will be like this. Okay. Surrounding the tooth in a collar-like fashion. It was not very clear in this diagram, so you can understand it very clear in this diagram. Suppose this is a premolar, the circular fibers around the premolar will be like this, and gingivodental fibers will be like this on the facial and lingual surfaces, fan-like conformation, and this is ring-like configuration. Okay, these 2 points are enough. This diagram will be the main diagram, and if you want, you can do these 2 diagrams also, and you will write here that fan-like conformation. Okay, you will write it, and here you will write ring-like conformation. Okay, and this will gain that extra attention to your paper. Okay, remember always diagrams are the more appealing, more eye-catching. They will make your answer sheet more attractive, right? So coming to the transseptal fibers. Transseptal fibers, this same thing you will study in periodontal ligament also, fibers of periodontal ligament also. So for now, transseptal fiber, what you will write? Located interproximally. It means these are the 2 tooth. This is the transseptal fiber. Okay, this is 1 tooth, this is 1 tooth, and this is the transseptal fiber, right? So located interproximally, transseptal fibers form horizontal bundles. Located interproximally, transseptal fibers form horizontal bundles that extend between the cementum of adjacent teeth or approximating teeth into which they are embedded. Okay, so this is the diagram. This is 1 tooth, this is 2nd teeth. This is the transseptal fiber diagram. Okay, now one tip for your exam. These diagrams you can see, I can only use these 4 standard colors, that's why I use this color coding. But for your exams, what you will do, how you will draw this, just remember, first, if you are not very pro at your drawing, then draw these diagrams with a pencil first. Then what you do, take a black gel pen, make it like this, make all the boundaries with the black gel pen. The diagram will like ki copy se ubhar ke aa raha hai. Okay, that will look more attractive. And for the colors, what you will use? For this portion, for the oral epithelium, you use the red pencil color. Okay, for the connective tissue part, you can use the pink or light red or pink kind of color you can use for this portion of. Okay, and then black gel pens for these markings of these fibers, and for the alveolar bone, use yellow color. Okay, try this diagram, send me in Instagram, I'll check that diagram. Okay, you can try this. Now this finishes this entire topic, microscopic features of gingiva. Once again, like, comment if you have any doubts, or how are you liking or disliking the videos. Let me know in the comment section, and subscribe the channel and share this video, please. All the best.